Welcome to Woodshop 101. This is episode 129 for June 11th, 2018. I am Jeremy Crawford of the Countryside Workshop, and I'm joined today by my co-host Drew Short of Rockin' H Woodshop and our guest host Paul Jackman from Jackman Works. What's going on, guys?
Hey there.
Yeah, so unfortunately Sam's not going to be able to make it tonight. She's caught up being a nanny or something. So
which means I get the pleasure of doing her lines.
Yes. Drew actually has to practice her lines beforehand just to make sure he can do it as good.
See if I can read off better than she can. So before we get started, we do want to thank our patrons, Devin, Richter, Sean McHenry, Carl Mose, Neil Sims, Eric Rhoten, John Ramminger, you can say it either way, and Josh Luther. We want to thank you guys very much for donating and help keep the lights on to get this show going. If you'd like to support the show, you can head over to woodshop101podcast.com/listen. Find the show notes for today's episode, and there'll be links for small one-time donations and reoccurring donations. If you want to become a patron to our Patreon campaign, then just head over to patreon.com/woodshop101. You can also buy a Woodshop 101 podcast t-shirt, hoodie, or even a Rev marker pack with our Woodshop 101 logo. You can head over to countrysideworkshop.com/shop to find that link. So, that wasn't too bad.
Yeah, you didn't stumble. I was staring at you the whole time.
Well, it's because you weren't making the faces like I do at Sam.
Rather you do it than me.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the shop. Paul, what are you currently working on?
Right now, I am in between projects. I'm doing a lot of design stuff, just kind of doing sketches and drawings and coming up with some cool ideas. The last project that I finished was a countertop, like a removable countertop. It was made in sections with a compass inlay in the top that I used epoxy for the inlay, and I burnt part of it to give it kind of a rustic look and kind of a mixed color and texture look to it. And that just got delivered and posted some pictures on my Instagram if people want to check that out. But it's basically 3 table leaves that kind of snap together with magnets and sit on top of a half wall. So it's for a house that has a pretty small kitchen, so it gives them a lot more countertop space when they need it.
Yeah, it looked like it went at the top of some stairs or something.
Yeah. So that was a stairwell down to the basement. So
yeah,
it was just kind of wasted space anyway.
Yeah, that looked pretty cool. I was checking it out. I was like, although my luck, I'd be walking and somehow I'd fall on my head.
Reddit was convinced of that, and I told him that we were safe and not to worry about it. So
either that, I'd go to set something on the countertop and it'd fall down into the basement.
Yeah, I told him they don't have a cat, so we're probably okay.
Where's that mustard? I put that mustard there. I swear it was on this countertop.
It is on the floor.
So, yeah, it looked really cool. I like the whole compass inlay in there.
Yeah, thank you. So, and that was part of the Inventables Power Hour Challenge, which is basically a design competition. You don't even have to carve it out, but any carving that takes less than an hour of cut time. And that thing clocked in at like 56 minutes, so just under the cutoff. And that's something you can enter in. If you go and look at, I think, Inventables Instagram, there's info on that. Anybody can enter, and the grand prize is an X-carve, so you can actually carve stuff out.
Nice.
I like the you sleeping while it was still running.
That's how it works, right? You just hit the button and take a nap, pick your nose, whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, my luck, the bit runs into a clamp or something, and I stall the whole thing out.
I figure as soon as I move the camera in place to get that shot of me goofing around, something's going to happen. I'm going to mess something up.
I had a carving that I did a while back, and the clamps I thought I had completely out of the way, which I did of the actual carving. Yep. But when it got to a stopping point, it lifted up and then moved to another part of the carving, and it just went right over to that clamp, and it just barely nicked the rubber holder at the end of the clamp. Just need to increase that clearance factor a little bit.
Yeah, I've had that happen to me before too. That'll freak you out.
All right, Drew, what do you got going on?
Well, I just recently delivered the triple barn door setup that I had for that client. She had a 13-foot opening for her closet doors. She had sliding mirror doors right there, and she took them off like the day I was supposed to deliver. There was some trim still left there, but it didn't really affect my install. But man, those doors were massive. 53 inches was the largest, and then the other two were 51 inches by 84 inches. And that was my first time to also install bypass hardware. And for those of you that don't know what that is, it's basically a rail that sits in front of another rail and allows the doors to slide in front of each other and behind each other. So it allowed me to be able to set up 3 doors that could gain access to all 3 quadrants of that closet. So that took about 4 hours to install. That was not what I had in mind, but since it was my first attempt and there's a lot of layout work to make sure that it all lines up perfectly, it took a little longer than I thought it would.
Yeah, that hardware is pretty beefy too, because it has to kind of like cantilever out for the second door.
Yeah, the brackets actually were in 2 pieces, and you had to bolt the 2 pieces together, and then mount it to the header board, and yeah, it overhangs the front rail, or excuse me, the back rail. So yeah, it is it's pretty massive. There were a lot of brackets.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty big. How long did you anticipate the install going?
About half as long. I thought it was only going to take about 2, maybe 2.5 hours. Because my typical install just for a single rail is anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
But because I was having to locate individual brackets just to put up one rail, I had to mount 10 brackets, and that took a while.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So, would you do it again?
Well, yeah, because that stuff pays the bills.
Would you, if it was up to you, would you, and it presented itself, would you do it next? Like your next project, would you do it?
Oh,
I mean,
man.
assuming it doesn't, like, you're not say, hey, I got to pay the bills, but like, was it that stressful, or was it, you know what? Yeah, I could do that again. Pretty.
I don't think it was stressful necessarily. It just took a long time. And by the time I was done, not only was my impact driver just smoking hot, I mean, it to the touch, I couldn't touch it without it burning my fingers.
Sounds like you need a second one.
I need another. But not only that, but my shoulders were really sore when I was done. So because of just the wear and tear and how long it took, I'd want to do that, maybe a couple of projects later on. And luckily, the next 2 doors that I've got to do aren't bypass doors. So
they're single doors. Is that what's going to be next in the shop?
Yeah, actually, I told you, dude, I'm turning into the barn door king for some reason. Everybody's wanting them, and the next set I've got it's a double door, but it's on a single rail, and then each door is kind of like a half X. So when they come together, it's a full X. And then the next, I got another one after that, and it's a single door. That's the one I thought I was going to make out of aromatic cedar, and she didn't like the price tag on aromatic cedar. So, okay.
They always like the idea of it.
Oh yeah, they love the look and the possibility, and then when you present them with that price tag, they're like, how about pine or how about alder? Okay, whatever.
I used to sell a bunch of cedar Adirondack chairs, and the price of cedar has just gone crazy the past 5 years or so. Mm-hmm. And like, I think the last set I sold was $500 or $600 per chair. So like, people love the look of them, and they're like, oh, take my money. How much is it? I'm like, $600 a chair, and they're like, maybe not.
Oh, so yeah. What do you make them out of now? Pine?
I just haven't made any.
It was like, yeah.
Don't make them unless they want to pay for them.
Right. Which is fine because I get to do other things. So I'm happy that I don't have to make them.
Yeah. So awesome. Well, I've I've been busy. Got so many projects, and only like exactly a week to get a bunch of them done. I just wrapped up the Southern Woodworkers Maker Swap build, and I did like a freehand router sign. First time ever to like router carve a sign. I did an Air Force logo for the gentleman that I got his information, and it's pretty cool. It was not near as challenging as what I thought it would be to trace a design with a router bit. I thought it was going to be a little bit more difficult. I mean, of course, if you look at like my design versus like Eric Rhoten designs from Make a Wood Sign, it's completely different because my lines are like a little jaggedy. His are nice and crisp. But for my first time, I think it turned out really well. And so I've just wrapped that up, and I got five massive butcher blocks that I got to get done by next Tuesday because I'm delivering them to Texas. I'm leaving here Tuesday afternoon, so it's a lot of work, and no meaning I always want to add more to it. I'm like, let's try to add this special feature, this detail or something, and then I'm always like pressed for the deadline. So I'm gonna try to keep it on wraps and just have some basic butcher blocks. But they're gonna be for a bunch of people who do like barbecue smoking competitions. So, but I think the biggest one I'm making is like 35 inches by 35 inches. I think is what the biggest one's going to end up being once it's all said and done. And then the smallest one's like 17 by 25 inches. So.
Even the small one sounds big.
Oh, the small one is still big. So there's 5 of them that got to get done, and I'm not looking forward to the oiling process. I hate I can't just like soak them like Drew does with all of his cutting boards. Like I don't have a tub big enough to soak a massive butcher block like that. So
I don't think I do either.
I'm gonna have them like strewed around the house, just have like different stages of oil on them, hoping my kids don't go around touching them or dog doesn't want to go.
A lot of oil too.
Yeah.
Just see accidents happening. Kids walking by, slip.
Like, Ma. So it'll be.
What are you gonna make them out of?
So I've already got them pretty much made up. I just got to do sanding and stuff, and I made them out of Malaysian acacia.
Okay.
So
I saw the photos of that stuff. That's cool looking stuff.
Yeah. So I found, believe it or not, I found it from a guy who works at Boeing. He gets unlimited amounts of it from Boeing, and it's one-time use. So they're pallets. Believe it or not, they're pallets. But they make it. They ship a part to Boeing, and then this guy gets the pallet and he'll disassemble it. And then he sells it for like 17 inches wide, 16 inches wide, 17 feet long, inch and a half thick. He'll sell it for $400 a stick. No, $200 a stick. $200 a stick. So it's getting some pretty awesome hardwood for pretty cheap, but he's making a killing on something he's getting for free.
Yeah,
from work.
That's not a bad setup.
So, but he's like always got some, and so in fact, I have a workbench build that's coming up at the end of July, and I think it's going to be made from the same stuff. I think I'm going to go ahead and buy some more from him and make a workbench out of it. So it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that'll be nice and solid.
Yeah. So and the deal is so it's very hard, but it's light. So what would that be? Not as dense. Like a stick of maple of its size would be a lot heavier, but the actual fibers of the wood are a lot harder.
Okay.
So
it's a pallet workbench, though.
Yeah.
That's something I can get behind.
But see, it's a pallet workbench made with some Malaysian
Yeah,
Malaysian wood. So it's pretty cool. I like it.
you're doing it the smart way.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm buying it from somebody that's taking, but apparently these pallets are like massive. It's not like, oh, they ship like a piano, or like he says they're like 30, like a 30-ton like engine will come in on one of them or something.
Yeah.
So they're made to like really withstand. So, but pretty cool.
So what else is on your deadlines here, Jeremy?
Give me a second.
He's got yeah, that's convenient.
He's got too many deadlines. He can't talk.
The kids are one of them. Oh lordy. Well. Oh, is he? No. Are you back on?
Yeah, I'm back on.
Well, we can't have that awkward dead space anymore.
Well, look,
You're just gonna have to tell everybody to wait.
Or you could have just filled it.
No, I can't do that.
My son had questions, and he didn't want to come poke his head around the stairs, so.
No, I was asking whatever else do you have on your deadline list, because you said that you're super busy.
Yeah, so between now and the time I leave, I have to get those 5 butcher blocks done, and then I really need to get a deck of a longboard built and sent off to the person that I'm going to be collaborating with, because it's going to be painted, and I was supposed to have it sent off before now, but I just so the deal is that building this at like a true skateboard, it's going to be 43 inches long, so this thing's super big, super long. But I'm doing what they call a drop through deck. I'm not a skateboard enthusiast. I just designed one and worked with a company to really like hone in on the design. So it's going to be like a drop through deck. So basically the trucks are going to mount from the top, but they're going to go through the wood. And you have to have a special cutout in the deck to fit the trucks. And I didn't decide on that. And once I decided I was going to do that, I had to order the trucks, and it's taken the trucks quite a while to get here. They're not even supposed to be here till like Friday, I think. So
you're saying the trucks are being held up by traffic?
There you go. The trucks are being held on some truck somewhere. But yeah, so I need to have the trucks to make sure that they'll fit inside the groove that I have to cut to mount them. And I would hate to send it off, get it painted, and then they send it back, and I have to make more cuts into it. So maybe,
yeah, especially if the paint job is worth it.
Yeah, and hopefully, I'm pretty sure it will be coming from the person that I'm going to send it off to.
Why do you think I said it?
she does some really awesome
I know
painting,
who you're going to deal with.
So I'll fill you in after, Paul.
Okay.
So it's
I'm intrigued.
So after that, then I'm going to be out of town for like almost 4 weeks, driving to New Mexico, starting Tuesday. It'll take me about 4 days to get out there, passing through Texas to drop off those cutting boards. Then I'll be out there, family reunion for about a week. Then we're going to go see my wife's parents, or her mom, for another 3 or 4 days, and then drive back. So I'll be gone about 3 or 3.5 weeks. And when I get back, I have about 3 weeks to have a split top Rubo made. So that's going to be turning and burning on a massive workbench that never thought I'd build, but I'm working with a company, so I got to get it done. But I'm going to try to keep it fairly simple. I'm not going to do like the whole sliding dead man and the leg vise and stuff like that. I'm going to build just a workbench with some dog holes, because I hadn't quite figured out exactly what I want to use for vices. And so before I invest money into vices and put them on there, I'm going to use it for a little while and kind of figure out exactly what I want. So,
just one thing you can't treat like a dining room table.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Paul may or may not know the story behind the dining room table, but our listeners are well aware.
This dining room table over here has been in the making for 4 years.
It was originally a birthday present, now turned to a 12-year anniversary present.
Yep.
4 years later.
Given, right? Is it 4 years? It's almost 5 years. November will be 5 years. Or October,
yeah.
will.
But we're in 4 years right now.
Yeah. So.
And see, we had bets last year. Or the year before.
Every year.
It was either last year or year before. I think it was year before. Because I think it was with Sam Ramondi. And we were trying to figure out when you were going to have it done. And you still have it done.
Yeah.
It's still going.
Yeah, it's still going. I mean, the
bets are off.
The table's built. It's got everything. Everything's done except for spraying it down with lacquer. And it's just because we've literally had rain here almost every day for the last month and a half.
Yeah.
So, and I don't have a place to spray outside that's covered. So it's either got to be no rain or no spray. So
yeah,
unfortunately,
that's what almost ruined my deadline was rain. I was supposed to deliver. Actually, I did, but my deadline was Friday, and I started spraying. Oh no, I started staining on Tuesday, and I ran smooth out of stain right before I was supposed to finish my last door. I was like halfway down the door, and I ran out of stain. So I have to let my stain set for like 24 hours before I spray it. So I sprayed on Wednesday and got all the door sprayed that I had stained, and then I also reapplied the stain that I ran short of. So I thought, okay, I'll just spray that door on Thursday. Well, I woke up at 8:30 and I hear loud thunder outside. And then I start checking the weather channel. I'm like, freaking things. And they said, yeah, so we're going to have rain until about 3 o'clock. I'm like, oh. So I couldn't spray anything. And the wind was so bad, the rain was coming up underneath my awning. So that was ruining all the opportunities to be able to spray just underneath the awning. Even though it was so wet outside, I was still going to try. But because the wind was so bad, I had to hold off. And then at, I think, 4:30 is when I finally got the opportunity to start spraying. And then I had to deliver Friday morning at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
So that rain can ruin your deadlines really, really bad.
So, Paul, what do you got coming up?
Let me think. I'm working on, so one of the designs is a kitchen island, which is actually a personal piece for our apartment. So I've been playing around with the design on that, trying to I got a couple concepts on it that I really like, but I'm trying to make sure it doesn't get too busy and try and throw too much stuff at it, which I tend to do. So probably keep it simple rather than complicated. But I think it'll be a fun build. I thought about doing a concrete countertop, and then I did the math based on like the density of concrete, and it came out to 300 pounds. So decided against doing that. And I think I'm just going to do like a butcher block instead.
Just like a edge grain?
Yeah, just a regular edge grain. I was thinking about weathering it. I got this stuff from Minwax. They make it. I don't know what they call it, but it basically weathers the wood. It grays it, and it's very watery. You just apply it and give it a little bit of time to set, and it grays the wood. So basically does like a chemical reaction with the tannins of the wood or whatever to chemically weather it. So I was testing that on a maple butcher block scrap that I have, and it actually looked pretty cool. So I don't know. I might go with that instead.
Does it work differently with different species of wood, or is the grain kind of...
Yeah, depending on the species, it looks different. So something like a pine turns like very gray. It almost looks like you painted it gray. And then the maple looks more like a stain. And oak looks more like a stain too. The oak looks really good with that stuff on it. So I was just wiping it on a bunch of different scrap pieces in the shop while I had it open. So kind of got a whole sample of all different species anyway, just for the heck of it.
So you said that you were going to keep this simple. Do you have a tendency to go a little overboard?
Yeah.
Especially in your designs? I mean, on the computer?
Yeah, I'm guilty of that. And I probably spent too much time going back and forth. And I always have like cool concepts, not necessarily designs, but kind of overarching ideas that I want to implement into a design. And then I'd be like, well, kitchen island, what kind of ideas can I pull from and put into the kitchen island? And I was like, oh, I can use this and this and this. And then I was like, wait a second, this thing's going to just look stupid because I'm trying to throw too much into it. So I got to like back up and be like, wait a second, what does this actually need to look good? And kind of make sense together too.
Here you can store all your knives. Here's your cutting boards. If you pull this lever right here, it opens up to store all your guns.
Right. It's a flip top, like the planer stand, so you can flip it over and your toaster oven pops out.
Microwave on one side, toaster oven on the other.
Uh-huh.
Exactly.
Or what was the big thing around Christmas time? The pressure cookers.
Yeah.
The instant cookers. So you have an instant cooker on one side. It's included in the design.
You pay extra for that, but not for me. More.
Yeah. So I've been meaning to ask you, Paul, where did you get the design, or how did you even come up with the design for that giant baseball chair?
So that was a build that I made for Arbortech, which makes power carving tools, like basically angle grinder attachments. And we wanted to make something around opening day for baseball season. So it was something in baseball related, and I was like, okay, I can do that. And I asked them if they had any particular direction that they wanted the design to go. And word for word, quote, "the bigger the better" was their instructions. Mm-hmm. So I said, you know who you're talking to, right? You probably shouldn't say that. So I ended up with a 3-foot wide giant baseball that was a chair. And yeah.
That thing was huge. It is awesome looking too.
That thing was beefy, yeah. That's why I made it out of pine though, so it was like as light as it possibly could be. And the thing was over 100 pounds at least, but it separated into the two halves, so it was collapsible, and I could still transport it. But that thing,
was it able to? I mean, did you make it where it kind of folded up on itself and made a big baseball and stayed that way?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of how it could be transported. The back lifted off and then collapsed down like a clamshell sort of thing.
How did you latch them together?
They don't get latched together. That was just for transporting it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Didn't get too fancy.
Well, I like how you took it to the ball field for pictures. I think that was very fitting.
Yeah. There's just a couple of little baseball fields on the base that I live on, and nobody ever touches them. So I went over there, and it was a good photo op. But where we live, I'm in D.C., and you can basically see the National Stadium from where we live. And I was trying to get on the baseball field there, and like this was before opening day, so it wasn't super crazy there. And we were trying to work a couple contacts. I got from a fan contacts to one of the media contacts there in a roundabout way. And somebody else, I got a contact to one of the groundskeepers. So we were like hitting them from two different sides, but could never get any traction to get him to say okay, because I think just nobody wants to agree to that and be the person that said that they could give a guy permission to bring a giant baseball onto the field and cause chaos. So,
like, what kind of chaos, really?
I don't know. Nobody ever wants to say yes, so it didn't happen. But
all worried about liability.
Yeah, that's it. I tried. But it's directly across the river from me. It couldn't be any closer. So I was disappointed we couldn't make that happen.
So where does the chair reside now?
It now lives in Connecticut. So it was a giveaway. So just a random drawing that I did with Arbortech. And they just drew a name from the pile and ended up going to Connecticut, which worked
just
out.
A private party? Just a normal residence?
Yeah, just a fan of mine. And it went to his house. That's it. So
I could just see that if I won that and that came to my doorstep, my wife would be like, "Where in the hell are you going to put this?"
Right.
It's going in your shop.
Arbortech's initial idea was to do like the publisher's clearinghouse and just like show up at the door with balloons and just like surprise. And then he said he thought about that for a little bit. And he's like, no, this guy's got a wife and we want her to stick around. So we wrote him as like, do you want it? And if you do, then we can figure something out to get it there. So he was a big.
You did ask him if he wants it.
Yeah, we did. We figured play it safe, and he was a big baseball fan, and he really wanted it, so it worked out really well. And that's halfway between me and Arbortech's office, so we just met in the middle, and it was perfect. But it's very well traveled because I actually did the power carving portion at the New Jersey woodworking show. So that was just like a live demo with Arbortech. So I did the whole glue up and everything in my shop, stuck it in the back of my car, and then drove it up to New Jersey and did the power carving, brought it back home to DC to finish it up and put the laces on and all that stuff. And then drove it back up to Connecticut again, right through New Jersey.
How many hours was the carving worth? Could you figure it?
I'm not sure. It's hard because at the shows I'm doing a lot of talking with people, so I get interrupted a lot. Best guess, I would say it was, I don't know, if I was going at it nonstop, it'd probably be 4 to 5 hours, just carving it down round to the half spheres.
Did you have to do any fine tuning of the carving, like sanding and stuff like that, just to smooth it all out?
Yeah.
You couldn't figure that out with do that with just the carver? God.
No, so with some woods you can, because I use the turbo plane to carve the whole thing down, and that's got carbide teeth on it, so it leaves a really nice surface on hardwoods. But on softwoods, it doesn't leave quite as nice of a surface just because it's so soft. So it takes a lot more sanding. But like I've done power carving, like the leg lamp, if anybody has seen that was made out of maple, and that was hardwood and carved down really nice, and I almost didn't have to sand it. And it kind of leaves a nice texture. It's like a chiseled texture almost if you cut along with the grain. So if you just kind of watch the orientation that you're cutting with, it leaves a real smooth surface because it shaves it away rather than like grinding it away like an abrasive disc does.
That sounds like something you learned the hard way. A great direction.
Especially
crap.
Especially the leg, because it had so many like organic weird curves to it. Like nothing was a circle or anything like a normal shape. It was all just weird angles. So it took a while of like finagling the grinder around to get the right direction. And then once you figured it out, I was like, okay, that's what you got to do. But luckily with the baseball, it was all segmented. So the grain was all running all the way around. So that was easy.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that leg lamp because that's the thing that sticks in my mind. That the baseball thing was cool, but the leg lamp, that's just something you can't forget. Yeah. And you kind of did it around Christmas time, I thought. And did you have this like brainchild in your head for the longest time? Like, I'm going to do a leg lamp finally.
That surprisingly, that wasn't around in my head for too long. That we did do in November to drop just before the holiday season in December. And I had a video to do. That was for a Carolina shoe. They make work boots, so the leg lamp has a Carolina work boot on it. And we had another video to do at the end of last year, and I was like, well, let's do something holiday related. And me and my wife were sitting down over dinner just throwing ideas back and forth, just seeing what cool, crazy stuff we could come up with. And then somehow, I don't know if it was me or her, someone was like, what about, you remember that leg lamp from that movie? Like, what if you made that out of wood? And then I was like, well, what if I make like a parody of it and make the manly version instead of the one in stockings with a skirt? And that's it, and the rest is history.
What did Carolina think of it?
They loved it. I thought they would question it at least a little bit, but I sent the email away. I was like, this is my idea. Let me know yes or no. And it was just like, yes, do it. Make it happen. I was like, all right, I'm working with the right people, I guess.
Too bad you couldn't tag a lot of the people that were from that movie.
Yeah. So last year around Christmas time, it was really weird, but they had a live version on TV of that movie. Mm-hmm. So it was like a live reenactment or whatever you want to call it. And it was basically like a play, live action, I guess is what it was. And they found me through Twitter. and they were like retweeting the pictures of the leg lamp and stuff, and they fell in love with it. They thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I was trying to get it on the TV show somehow, but that never happened either. But that's
too good.
Through.
Yeah, dude, that's like one of my favorite movies. So when you built that, I was watching it intently, just seeing it all come together.
It took a little while for people to figure out, because I think that one I was just posting teasers, and I didn't say what the end result was going to be. So it was just started as like silhouettes the shape of the side of a leg, and then I glued a bunch of them together, and then I carved them down. And everyone's like, "What is going on?" And then eventually there was a light bulb on it, and everybody literally had a light bulb moment, and they're like, okay. That's what it is. And that lives in Utah now.
Was that a giveaway too?
That was another giveaway, yeah.
Oh yeah, I bet that's cherished, especially if they're Christmas Story fans.
Yeah. So that was another one where we wrote them and we're like, do you actually want this?
We know you're married.
Right. So. Like, they entered the contest, but there was a couple of like second place prizes for free pairs of boots. So like, do you actually want the lamp? We can just send you a pair of boots if you want that. And they're like, no, we're a huge fan of the movie. We think it's the coolest thing ever. And they really wanted it. So we shipped it off to Utah. So my leg now lives in Utah.
Well, I like the one of the posts that I just found it too. It made me laugh really hard. Was should I go with the cyclist hand or finish the whole thing?
Yeah. So the leg is a full scale model of my own leg. So I took pictures from the side and the front to get a scale correct from that, and then just worked off of those 2D dimensions to make it 3-dimensional. So I was trying to figure out if I should make it true to form with the tan lines or just actually make it look nice and cover the whole thing. So
yeah,
ended up going with the second option.
That leg lamp was awesome. I would have definitely had that in my house.
Paul, you should have definitely put the lower part of your butt cheek up there like the Christmas Story lamp. You were going full scale. You might as well.
I thought long and hard about it. Just it didn't happen.
Well, Jeremy's your son, okay? Everything good?
No, he's nauseous. He's up there feeling like he was going to vomit. So I put him back in his bed.
Yeah, because that's a safe place for it. If you're going to throw up, do it on all your covers.
No, he's got a trash can. I told him I'd be up there in a few minutes. So
yeah, Hannah's got one. It's called Trashy.
So, all right. Well, let's talk about some product recommendations. Drew, you want to go first? Because clearly, what you have here is not enough. You need to add to it.
I do?
You said yesterday from this weekend that you needed to.
Oh, well, yeah, I need to get more, yes. But what I want to recommend is the Ryobi Quiet Strike impact driver. I've got 2 impact drivers that are just normal, and they are super loud when you're doing installations indoors, especially if the ceilings are really high and it echoes really bad in their house. I learned that lesson the hard way installing my very first barn door for a client, and it was overlooking his living room, because his living room was just like vaulted ceilings, and then it had that balcony where the upstairs was at, and that's where I was installing the barn door. So every time I was putting a lag bolt in, it was just wah all through the house. I was like, sorry guys, I'm almost done. I got like 4 more. But this Quiet Strike is so much quieter, and I take it on all of my installations for indoors, and I don't have complaints. I mean, I can shut the door if I'm working in a specific room. I can just shut the door and they don't hear it throughout the house. But I almost let all the magic smoke out of the one that I was working with just because it was so hot. So yeah, I might need to get maybe 1 or 2 more just to keep on hand. But all the hardware, if you guys saw it on my post, how many brackets and lag bolts that I had to put in, I was using that 4 amp hour battery with it, and it only drained it halfway. So it held up real nice for the entire install. I was impressed.
you find that works just as effective as your regular impact drivers?
The speed as far as how it's driving it into the wall might be a little more down on the scale. But I think it's a good compromise depending on, where you're installing, like a balcony, like I was talking about. I would gladly sacrifice the speed over the noise any day.
Yeah, as long as it's still got the torque to drive them in. It doesn't really matter.
It still makes it. And I was driving 2.5 inch long lags into a header, and it did all the lags that I had to do.
Yeah,
So.
I think Rigid makes one as well now that's a quiet strike. I'm not entirely sure. And I thought there was somebody else out there, maybe DeWalt or somebody else had a quiet strike or a stealth. I think Rigid calls it the stealth.
I will say, though, the bad thing about it is the head is it's not as compact as a normal impact driver, so it's a little bit longer. So if you got some real tight spaces to get into, I would not recommend taking that as your only impact driver.
It's brushless too, right?
No. The Quiet Strike right now currently is not brushless.
Okay. All right. Well, Paul, what about you? You got something you want to recommend?
I'm going to continue being a corporate shill unintentionally and recommend Waterlocks Finish. It is a company that I work with, but I actually really love this stuff. It's a mix of tung oil and a resin. So it's great for countertop finishes and things like that. It really soaks into the wood and gives a really nice color to grain, and then the resin hardens and gives you a really kind of a subtle shiny surface. It's like a satin finish, and then depending on how many coats you build up, it gets a little bit shinier and shinier as you go. But it's super easy to apply too, which is what I really like about it. And I just wipe it on with a rag, and between coats you hit it with a 500-600 grit sandpaper really quick and put the next coat on. And it's always just buttery smooth when you're done if you just do a real quick sand between coats. And it's always got good results from me. I've never had any issues with it. And it takes a little bit longer to dry, but it's nice because you can kind of get rid of the drips and stuff, so those don't dry on you like sometimes a lacquer will, because it dries a little bit quicker. So it's more of a luxury finish if you got a little bit more time. Then you're not battling the rain.
Yeah.
You would bring that up. Would you say that this Waterlocks is pretty comparable to the Foambees hand rub tung oil finish, because it has that resin in it as well and kind of gives you that?
Yeah, I don't have any personal experience with that stuff, but I bet it's very similar.
I used to use that a lot of small items.
Yeah.
Wasn't Waterlocks originally designed for boat building and stuff?
I think it was originally
a marine type environment.
It was like a wood floor finish.
Okay.
And they do have a marine version of it as well. That's made for boat stuff and exterior applications.
I've seen it a bunch. I know a bunch of people use it, and I maybe one day I'll get around testing it.
Yeah,
I'm just not getting in spray lacquer, so we'll.
I don't blame you.
So,
it's nice too because it lends itself to some nice finishing scenes when you're rubbing it on a naked leg too. It's good content.
There we go. And you finished the countertop with that, didn't you?
Yep. Yeah, the Compass countertop had Waterlocks on it too.
Yeah, it definitely looks nice. My only worry is if it does it get plasticky, kind of like polyurethane.
You mean just as far as touch, the texture?
When the resin cures on top of the surface, does it have that plastic look? Like when polyurethane builds up and it just looks like it's been dipped in plastic.
Yeah, it depends on how many coats you put on. If you keep laying the stuff on, I think it will eventually start looking like that. But if you do, I think the countertop I did 3 coats, and it has a nice satin finish to it, so it's not too overwhelming. So looks a little bit more like a natural finish.
Okay.
That's one thing I tend to stick to is more of a satin look. The more glossy it gets, the more imperfections you see, and it doesn't look normal to me.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I'm going to recommend some acoustic panels. The ones I have are made by ATS. And basically, I've ever since I've moved here, just right about 2 years ago, I've had some echoing in my office just because it's wood floor. It's downstairs. It's like a flow through design. So I've had some pretty bad echoing. And I picked up a couple of these. I don't know. I think they're 2 feet by 2 feet acoustic panels from ATS. I think they were like $30 a piece off of Amazon, and it wasn't an Amazon Prime, so I think I paid, I don't know, $10 or $15 in shipping. But it's really cut off on the amount of bounce back on the audio I have, and I've actually seen them used in a shop environment to help reduce some of the noise transfer from tools. So
Oh, that's toys.
Yeah. They come on. But so it's, it kind of helps deaden some of the space there in the shop as well. So I've been thinking about picking up a couple more and possibly putting a few on the ceiling in the shop to help reduce some of that noise transfer from the shop into my kids' rooms. So I'd highly suggest go check them out if you're looking to have some kind of noise reduction. I actually think, I'm not entirely sure, but I think Mark Spagnuolo put some up in his shop when he first moved in. I think that's where I found out about them, but I'm not entirely sure. So,
are they fabric?
So the ones I have are probably eighth inch maybe, 1/8-inch plywood with like a foam on top of it, and then they're wrapped in like a canvas, like a very thick canvas, and it's the foam is what acts as the sound dampener. So there's it's actually like acoustic foam on the inside, and they make just like regular. You can buy like just the foam paneling. I just bought the more decorative paneling because it was going to be in my house on the walls. So
if you used it in your shop, do you think that what it's made out of, that canvas, that it would get attract dust and make it hard to keep it clean, or would it be hard to clean if you had to?
It's like I think if you take it like a shop vac with a brush attachment, you'll get most of it out. But I would expect it, if it's going to be in the shop, it's going to be collecting some dirt. But I think if you have dust collection, and you don't just free reign, let the dust go everywhere, that you will be able to keep them relatively clean. And if you just give them, when you do your shop clean, just quick once over with a shop vac or something with the little dust brush attachment or something, should be
provided
just fine.
your shop vac or your dust collection bag doesn't explode on you like it did mine.
Yeah.
You ever had that happen, Paul?
No, I did have a blowout, just like a small hole, and I think it had been because I had taped it up, because I poked a hole in it and taped it up, and then I'm like running a piece through the table saw, and all of a sudden it's just like raining sawdust everywhere because this little like baseball-sized hole blew out in it.
Oh, I don't know what the deal was with my bag, because I think it was losing its integrity, because I noticed that it was getting weaker. So it was starting to bubble in a certain area. So I was like, oh, crap. So I started putting tape over that area maybe to see if it'll hold. And I had like 2 boards of alder left to run through the planer. And as I was about to put that second board in there, I hear this pop. And a whole bunch of dust went everywhere all over my driveway. I'm like, ah.
Oh, man.
So, luckily, I had it outside. If it was inside, it would have probably been a mess.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd never be done cleaning that up.
In that case, no, you would not be able to probably get it out of these panels. So that wouldn't work in your instance.
That was my question, Jeremy. That's exactly where I was going with it.
Well, I mean, if you have like a freak accident like that, then I mean, you might be able to get most of it out, but probably not all of it. So,
Well, I will say dust collectors now, since I turned full time, I've been having to keep more tabs on it, having to empty it out more often. Because when I was just doing this stuff on the weekends, I wasn't filling it up that fast. And then it seems like I'm filling it up every week.
yeah.
Especially with the planer.
Yeah, well, this dust collector is just my table saw. And
Okay.
I'm filling it up, it seemed like every week, because I'm cutting down so much alder to mill up for my barn doors. So it's going through it pretty fast.
How thick are you making those barn doors?
Depending on the condition of the rough cut when I get it, because they do a straight line on one side and they'll surface both sides on the alder. I can't get it any other way. So depending on how good the surfacing is, I may leave it like it is, or I might take about an 1/8 to a 1/4 off of it. I never go below 3/4 of an inch thick, but sometimes they may be 7/8 pieces. And then whenever I make the frames overall, the doors might be anywhere between 1.5 inches to maybe like 1 7/8 inches.
Okay.
Now, what's the reasoning behind alder? You might have explained that before. Is that just super available in Oklahoma, or?
It's cheap.
Well, it's cheap. Yeah, it's like $1.65 a board foot.
Okay, that's a good enough reason right there.
Yeah. Plus, it has the look of pine, and a lot of the places that are wanting these barn doors, they're wanting a rustic, like a country-looking door, and knotty alder is one of the least expensive ways to go.
Mm-hmm.
But like pine that I go buy at Lowe's or Home Depot, because they sell it by the stick, not by the board foot. But if you knock it down into that type of price point, you're paying 3 times as much because it's already all of the labor to get it sized and everything has already been done. So paying for all that extra work.
Yeah, I'm sure with pine you get all sorts of callbacks too, because the doors would just be like bananas after not too long.
Yeah, I had to, like this alder even, once I milled it up and let it set in the shop, it kind of acclimated some, and some of them were starting to curve. So when I put it together, I had to alternate those curves. Like if one curved up, I did the other one going down, and put like a straight one in between those. And after I got done gluing it up, even before I put the cross bracings on, they were flattened back out. So kind of counteracted it.
All right. Well, I'd like to remind you guys, if you listen to our show over on iTunes, please go leave us a 5-star rating. It really does help us reach more people. And if leaving or listening to us on iTunes is not your thing, we are over on YouTube. We release a video version of the podcast. Just in case you didn't know that, you can go over there, leave us a comment as well, and let us know how awesome Paul is on the show.
Yeah, I was going to say how pretty Paul's face is goes with his to scale leg.
Yeah.
I didn't know this was getting recorded.
He's like, oh, wait, what?
Put your shirt on, Paul. I'll put it on.
We're just having a conversation.
People are going to go to YouTube and they're going to see the video. It's just my leg. You can't even see my face.
Well, for those of the people that don't know you, Paul, before we sign off, why don't you go ahead and give them your contact info so they can figure out how to reach you?
Sure. So it's basically Jackman Works everywhere. JackmanWorks.com is the hub for everything, and most active on YouTube and also on Instagram. And I think that's it. Also on Reddit if you want to go troll me over there. I like that. That's fun.
Troll?
Yeah.
Well, what about you, Jeremy?
You can find me at countrysideworkshop.com. If you want to get in contact with me pretty quickly, I respond to DMs on Instagram a little bit quicker. I'm over there at Countryside Workshop as well, so don't find me on Twitter.
For the record, I do not troll Jeremy's Twitter anymore. So
I'm not
I don't
sure
answer
I have a
any
Twitter
responses.
account anymore.
Did you already cancel it?
I don't think so, but I would assume after so many days of non-activity, they might want to shut you down or years of non-activity.
Oh, you don't do automatic tagging over there anymore?
No, I cut that. Because if you post stuff over there, then people want to reply over there, which means then I got to follow it now. And that's, no.
Which you don't do.
Yeah. If you want to find me, Facebook, Iffy, or Instagram.
Okay. Well, if you guys want to reach Sam, who is absent tonight, you can go to her website, which is samryandesigns.com, and myself, which is rhwoodshop.com. And you can find contact information there for both of us. And if you want to reach the show for all of us at the same time, including ask questions to the guest host that we had at that time, you can send us an email, which is kickback@woodshop101podcast.com. We also have a voicemail number that you can call, which is 409-234-3959. But if you have the voice memo app on your phone, the clarity on that is outstanding. And you can send that to the email I just mentioned. So you can record whatever you want there, send it to the email, and we can play any of those on air, and it gives us good content to kind of kick back on. So we want to thank Paul for being on the show. You got to listen next week because he will be on the next episode as well. And that will be our short episode. And we do have the after show that will be airing on Patreon for all of our supporters there. So, Paul, thanks a lot for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Hopefully I didn't use up all my good stories on this one.
Well, we can use all your questions that you have for the next show.
Yeah. Not a very good salesman. Trying to get people to go to the next episode there.
If you want to find out more about Paul, please tune in next week.
Yeah. Find out if you ran out of good stories or not. Cliffhanger.
All right. Well, from Jeremy, the absent Sam, Paul, and myself, we want to wish you guys well. Please be safe in your shops, and we'll talk to you on the next podcast episode. So, 1, 2, 3. Boom!
Boom.